Yo, Kaspa, I'm going to be covering price action, but most especially the technology, okay? We're all here for the price. We love the price going up, and we see this dropping down to 4 cents. Just 5 minutes ago, it went down below 4 cents. You already know I'm accumulating at these levels, averaging down, because this is an excellent opportunity. You see this green, it means buy zone. And you may be thinking, oh, who cares about Kaspa? What's so good about Kaspa? Well, that's what I'm about to explain. And if you ever want more in-depth analysis for anything, for any other crypto, for Kaspa, for any single time you want to buy or sell, hit me up on Patreon. You already know I sent that buy alert for those market makers out there. Looking at the daily oscillator as well is an excellent opportunity, especially at these lows. This is what I'm talking about. Now, this yellow line here is an interesting moving average. You see how it provides a support even back in the day. And here we go again. Trading below it, it's acting as a little bit of a resistance, but it's starting to flatten out, and that's what matters in the macro time frame. You see that flattening out. I say it time and time again, it's that accumulation zone. That's what we are right now, especially with gold hitting all-time high just under 5,000. What's super interesting is looking at the full extension of its Fibonacci retracement. This is something that actually zkEVM from X, he made a note of this, but here I'm fine tuning the retracement because he was basing it off of the 2011 peak instead of the 2020 peak. Fibonacci retracement, I don't typically like to use it, but it has its interesting use cases, okay? And when you're gonna use it, you have to keep in mind, like, look at every single level, okay? These levels represent either support or resistance zones, and they have to represent that. Otherwise, it's just not working right. Not everything is going to fit a Fibonacci retracement, but here we go. Gold's all-time high. It kept on hitting and hitting and hitting. This reminds me of Kaspa breaking out from 5 cents back in the day. And then you see this type of support level. It bounces, hits it, goes up. Resistance breaks through, and here we go. It's about to hit, it literally just hit this resistance. I mean, just a little bit under. So this is a super interesting zone for gold, and we'll see. Maybe once it reach up to 5,000 and come back down, I don't think gold's going to go much higher than 5K. So this is honestly an incredible period for liquidity shift. Okay, massive liquidity shift. This is like all-time high for uncertainty in the markets. How much more can it go? How much farther can the US take it? How much farther can Trump take it? You know, Trump was just threatening all these tariffs on the EU, and then he just like yesterday, he backed down on those tariffs. So it's just like all this crazy volatility in the global scale, the global economy. That's why gold's trading at all-time highs. That's why silver as well. Similarly, trading just under $100 per ounce. So again, this is a very interesting zone. $100, you have to look at it also as a psychological resistance. 5K for gold, a psychological resistance. Here we go, retracement as well. Full extension is around 5,000, just under 5,000. Here we go, just basically hitting it. Now, this is another super interesting chart here provided by Orangutan Elder, looking at Bitcoin back in 2011, back in 2015, all the way back to OG Bitcoin hodlers, the OG Bitcoin visionaries. That's where we are right now with Kaspa. This is a very interesting chart to look at. Before breaking this down, let me go into the technology real fast. Kaspa Hub providing these graphics here is really cool stuff. Kaspa is the fastest Nakamoto consensus-based cryptocurrency. And when you realize what that even means, like some people, there's a lot of terminology, all right? Nakamoto consensus is as secure as any network, literally a network could ever possibly get. You can't get more secure than Nakamoto consensus. Basically, you need to control at least 50% of the entire network in order to attack the network. Now, this security is based on hashing power, basically computation power. So normally, traditionally, it's extremely slow. Linear blockchain's extremely slow on proof of work. But now you have Kaspa introducing scalability only known by other proof of stake protocols, which proof of stake is based off of extreme centralization, and there is an inherent compromise on security for proof of stake. An attacker only needs 34% of the entire proof of stake network to render it useless versus 51% of a proof of work network. So that type of security makes a big difference. Imagine you have a big conglomerate of mining pools, for example, or centralized entities. Now, the top 4 mining pools on Bitcoin, the top 4 control about 82% of the entire hashing power on Bitcoin. Do you understand how ridiculously centralized that is? Yet Bitcoin's all about decentralization, yet its hashing power, the security underlying the entire network of Bitcoin, it's not even that decentralized. you have 4 major entities. The largest one having 30% stake, second largest 28%. It's because you can't really mine Bitcoin without using a mining pool, a big centralized mining pool. On Kaspa, however, you can solo mine without it becoming basically a lottery ticket. So on Bitcoin, you try to solo mine and it's literally the chance of mining a block is like winning a lottery ticket. Whereas on Kaspa, you mine a block like a few times a day on a pretty average home miner. And then the top 4 pools on Kaspa, they control 67% of the entire network hashing power. And you see how decentralized these numbers get as it goes down. The largest one, 26%, and then 18, 15. And look at this. Look at the differences. And it's because of the scalability of Kaspa's block DAG. It allows home miners to be able to mine a block because we're at 10 blocks per second. With 100 blocks per second, it's going to become even more decentralized for miners, unlike anything ever created. Hans Moog here dropping some absolute facts, some absolute alpha. Here they have the whole VProgs framework, open sourcing it on GitHub. This is just truly incredible. Let me break down just some of my favorite lines. He says, a lot of existing crypto is built on stuff that isn't even new. Many of it is not unique. Just few genuinely good ideas exist. A lot of it is just a bunch of noise. That's the crypto market that we live in right now. It's a blessing that Kaspa came late to the party because now we have all of this research, especially most of the research done by Kaspa itself, the early protocols made by Jonathan Sompolinsky, the protocols that have created most of the top 100 cryptos, including Ethereum. Now you have all of that coming together on Kaspa, the best of the best. So of course, there's still room for improvement for Kaspa, as VProgs is going to be a progression of developments within 2026. And Dagnite going to drop sometime within 2026 to 2027. Now, this is the line that I love the most, is that Kaspa is converging toward a system that can eventually no longer be optimized or simplified. Okay, read that back. Kaspa is becoming a system that can no longer be optimized. That's what Kaspa is building. And when people say, oh, there's just going to be another crypto in the next 5-10 years that's going to make Kaspa like kind of useless, you have to understand what Kaspa is building. Because if you say such a comment, you're not understanding the technology of Kaspa that it's building right now and what is about to drop with VProgs and Dagnite. Kaspa is building a system that can no longer be optimized. It's as optimized as a data network could possibly get. So, I said that Nakamoto consensus having 51% Byzantine fault tolerance, that is as secure as a network can possibly get, okay? And now you have a network that is as fast as the internet itself. You can't get faster than the internet. The internet is what spreads and disseminates all data packets, okay, across the world. You cannot get faster than the internet. So when you have a network as fast as the internet, through Dagnite, you have a network that is as secure as, let me just say Bitcoin for simplifying it. And you have a network as decentralized as Bitcoin. You have global nodes out there, a global trustless system of nodes spanning the entire earth. I mean, as you can see, it's literally spanning the whole earth. Africa definitely needs some more nodes. I mean, all the way up here in the north, it could definitely use some more nodes. But that's the also limitation that Bitcoin network also has. Bitcoin doesn't have many nodes up here, doesn't have many nodes in Africa. It's largely just in South Africa and Nigeria. So here having a node up in North Africa and Tunisia is pretty hecking sick. So when you have the most optimized data network that could ever possibly be created, that will only further scale as hardware and internet also scales, and as hardware, computers, and internet itself gets better and better with time goes on, as it naturally will, Kaspa is going to scale with it. When quantum computing comes around, pre-quantum computing protocols come around as well, Kaspa is going to be able to implement all of it. The signatures are going to increase in length. It's going to bloat most of the blockchains that currently exist, but Kaspa being so efficient, being so scalable, the block DAG, it's going to be able to bring in these signatures. It's going to be able to integrate all this extra security measures and still run at extreme speeds, as fast as the internet. And when I talk about the security of Kaspa, right now it is hindered by hashing power, okay? Obviously, it's not more secure than Bitcoin because the hashing power on Bitcoin is magnitudes greater than it is on Kaspa. Naturally, just like the price of Bitcoin is magnitudes more than the price of Kaspa. Naturally, we're so early in adoption for Kaspa. Adoption has not even begun. We're in the super early stages, as you know. Bitcoin back in 2015. This is something about where we are right now. So fundamentally, the security of Kaspa is going to grow. The hashing power for Kaspa and the price are both naturally going to grow as adoption comes in. You have banks already testing in the playground, in the sandbox of Kaspa Key's Warp Core. I mean, this is actual banks. These are real institutions for using Kaspa as a settlement and sequencing layer for massive amounts of money. So why are they choosing Kaspa? Why are they even bothering about it? Because it's all about money. That's what it's all about. I mean, you're here investing in technology and what you could say you're all about the tech, but in the end of the day, we're all about money. And these banks want to use Kaspa because it will save them money. No other reason. It saves them money and it doesn't compromise on anything. It doesn't compromise on security. It actually increases the security. Now there's global nodes across the world. There's not just a few data centers. And security itself could even be much better than the security of whatever bank is offering. But now we talk about security itself, of what DAG-nice security is going to look like for Kaspa. And we see there's not a max threshold for how secure the block DAG could get. There is a max threshold for how secure Kaspa under Ghost DAG, how secure it can get. Okay, you have confirmation times. For example, with Bitcoin, you have 6 confirmations. It takes a whole hour for getting that full finality. So network congestion is not going to increase the security. So that's how the traditional proof of work blockchains and even Ghost DAG, that's how they operate, with a pre-configured worst case scenario for this confirmation time. That's what the confirmation time represents. It's the worst case scenario for the network. If it were this congested, we're still going to guarantee a certain level of security. But what if the network got even worse than that, got worse than worse? What if the congestion was just unreal, worse than the worst case scenario? What if it happened? Guess what? DAGNet is going to be secure against it, whereas any other network, Bitcoin included, would not be. That's like basically doomsday levels, just like internet fragmentation. I mean, that's a doomsday level as well. But what if the world reached that level? Kaspa is resistant to it because of the nature of the block DAG, whereas traditional linear chains are going to be fractured, fragmented. So when you compare Kaspa to existing cryptos, okay, whether you compare it to privacy solutions, for example, Monero, Zcash, you compare it to existing privacy. Let's just take that example. You're not understanding the technology of Kaspa going long term if you are, for example, investing in current privacy solutions. These current privacy solutions, first off, they're rocket ready blasted off, okay, off of extreme FOMO. Now, this privacy is absolutely going to be possible on Kaspa with zero knowledge technology. Absolutely going to be possible. So what do? You invest in the most scalable, the most optimized network possible. You invest in Kaspa. You don't invest in these old dinosaur technologies that are currently the best. So these existing technologies, that's just what there is. Kaspa is an investment in the future because when you understand the technology, you understand the applications that will come from it. Quite literally inevitable. That's why these developers are so extremely excited, and they're trying their best to share how excited they are to us. Because it's hard for us to understand what all this technology means, and I'm doing my best to try to explain what it all means to you guys. So this is Kaspa's log chart normalized to Bitcoin back in the early days of when Bitcoin was first created. You see, you don't even have the price data between 2009 and 2010 for Bitcoin, but right now is what we're experiencing for Kaspa with respect to Bitcoin back in 2015. So this accumulation zone basically represents about 6 months, a little less than 6 months. Okay, so the time is ticking. We could have just one more month, something like that, a few more months, and then boom, back to 15 cents with this major spike that Bitcoin saw over here. And then again, going 2027, all-time high. That's what at least Bitcoin did, retesting all-time high and then just blast off. So are we going to keep to this trajectory? Who knows? Okay, literally who knows? Is it going to take until 2028 to reach a target that most of us are looking forward to, around a few dollars worth, even up to $4 or $5? Possibly. Okay, nobody knows the level, how long it's going to take. But what we do know is that it's going to happen. It's absolutely going to happen. And in all honesty, I don't think it's going to be taking this long. You see pumps like what happened with Zcash. So here's Zcash. I mean, it's just a ridiculous pump. They're just consolidating for so long. And then basically like a mega 10x, a little more than 10x, looking at the market cap as well. I mean, it's just crazy. Looking at the log, it just makes a little bit more sense, especially looking at Monero as well. The price just absolutely skyrockets to unbelievable FOMO levels. Looking at the log chart, it's just pretty steady growth. So this is all what's coming for Kaspa. Looking at the log chart of Kaspa, just traders trading, macro redistribution, and that's all there is really to it. Okay, Bitcoin did the same, very healthy, very normal. And not just Bitcoin, but look in the past year compared to Dogecoin. Wolfie here posting some straight facts. This is something I like to share on CMC, showing the past 90 days, the past 30 days, past whatever amount of days, comparing it to the top 100 altcoins or, altcoins out there. Kaspa is definitely not an altcoin. I mean, compared to Dogecoin, I keep saying Doge, it's Dogecoin. It's like literally the first meme coin, and honestly, trade it similar to an altcoin. The first meme coin, it's there. It doesn't provide really of any technical value, but it's just there as like an OG. And here Kaspa is trading literally the same as it. So chill, man. Chill. Kaspa is performing and following the wave of the rest of the crypto market. Basically looking at it kind of like risk on assets. Money is flooding to gold, flooding to silver. What's going to happen next, especially as gold approaches $5,000, especially with the silver approaching $100? You already know. Okay, Kaspa doesn't need any of it. Kaspa doesn't need any of it. Okay, Kaspa has enough. Kaspa has more than enough what it needs to succeed. Just heads down building. Developers are bringing to you the best, most optimized data network ever possibly created. Data including currency, okay? This sort of network includes currency, includes privacy, includes literally every single application for a network. You're getting here the most optimized version of a network. Of course, it's going to be adopted. Of course, it's going to be used because it's the best. It's the most optimized. There can never be something better. And if there is something better, guess what's going to happen? Kaspa is going to integrate it. And that's something Jonathan has talked a lot about as well. And something here even Hans Moog is describing here. We'll be breaking it down as well, explaining how easy the architecture of Kaspa is going to be to upgrade, the way it's structured. The design inherently allows the ability to replace or upgrade components, for example, new proof systems, schedulers, et cetera, without rewriting the whole stack. That's the beautiful thing, the genius behind the Kaspa developers. That's where they're looking. They're looking long-term to maximize optimization of the network. If that includes further scaling with the internet, further scaling with hardware, Kaspa is going to do it. Here as well, Yorichi, I'm not even going to try to say it, but here he goes comparing the price action of Kaspa to Bitcoin. Now, this is much more recent Bitcoin price action, so I don't think it's as fair, but it's definitely still a valid comparison. We're basically in that major bear cycle for Kaspa, and that's what a lot of these altcoins have been experiencing since 2021. So you're going to be selling your bag to buy the hype, to buy the peak of gold. You're going to be selling your bag to buy the peak of some sort of privacy coin like Monero. Nah, fam. Heck nah. Because it's all coming to Kaspa. Kaspa Payments WordPress plugin, accept Kas payments in your WooCommerce store. Pretty cool to see. I don't know much about WooCommerce, but hey, integration heating up. There's also a very interesting post from Kaspa Hub talking about the quadrilemma. Quadrilemma, did I say that right? So not just the blockchain trilemma, but quadrilemma. And what this includes is a fourth term, sustainability. Okay, extremely important. Honestly, the trilemma basically covers sustainability because the security, decentralization, scalability, you can't continue being secure if there isn't sustainability. So I think, honestly, sustainability is supposed to be built into security. It's like a subterm, it's subtopic within security, as well as decentralization. Because if, for example, the block DAG grows in size, grows, and what's going to happen to the nodes? Well, they're going to be able to scale with it because of the genius pruning mechanism of the block DAG and how it verifies the state via UTXOs all the way back to the Genesis block, meaning that's all you literally need to maintain the history of the block DAG. If you want to store transactions, then go ahead. That is not necessary to guarantee the validity of the Kaspa block DAG, to guarantee the decentralization or security of the block DAG. That's absolutely not necessary. But hey, you IRS, you want to do it? Go for it. Or just pay someone to do it. Because that's just what banks do as well. They keep the last 7 years of history, then they don't care about it. Data costs money. You want to store data, it's going to cost. But for the average person to keep the block DAG running, you don't need it. It's genius, okay? Kaspa devs, they're looking long-term, and that's what matters. Look, even Grok here explaining it. Bitcoin's base layer has a limited throughput, 7 transactions per second, which can drive high fees if demand surges. Lightning Network mitigates this for small, fast transactions, but critics argue it may not suffice for global scale without trade-offs. So basically, Lightning Network has massive trade-offs. It inherently has a lot of trade-offs in terms of security and centralization. So it vastly decreases the security of Bitcoin. It doesn't have Bitcoin security, and there's massive centralization concerns within the Lightning Network itself. I can make a whole video on this. The debate is real, and while some see this not being able to scale as a feature for security, others obviously see it as a flaw because, again, looking at the quadrilemma, looking at the sustainability long term, you need sustainability because security requires sustainability. Okay, if Bitcoin's not going to have high enough transactions per second to sustain miner fees for the security budget, it's not going to be secure long term. So we need a solution. What's the solution? Well, stop using Bitcoin and use something that actually offers a long-term sustainability plan in mind for the security, and that's Kaspa. Kaspa aims to fix similar issues with higher throughput without compromising security, without compromising decentralization, without compromising anything. And people that say, oh, there is a compromise because now you have to run an archival node if you want to see those transactions. Go ahead. Literally, you don't need to run an archival node. It's literally a complete optional. See it like an extra feature. If you want to have that transaction history, go ahead, run an archival node. Just like a bank, just like the IRS will pay someone to show them that history, to validate that history. Sure, go ahead, run that. But it's not required to keep the block DAG, the Caspa block DAG running and operational. It's absolutely not required. And what's also really interesting is that AI, they're starting to understand, okay? AI is definitely beginning to understand, but it still doesn't fully understand because it thinks it's like you got Bitcoin security or you got Kaspa speed. You can't have both. But Kaspa isn't compromising on Bitcoin security. Kaspa is not compromising on security whatsoever. On the contrary, Kaspa is improving upon Bitcoin security with Dagnite because Dagnite does not have a hard-coded parameter for confirmation time. Confirmation time is responsive to the network itself. That's mind-boggling, okay? That is next level. That's literally alien grade. That is the most optimized a network can get. You're running at the speed of the internet. You're gonna have the max security as you ever require to keep your transactions secure. If the network is highly congested, then boom, it's going to automatically increase the confirmation times so it keeps your transactions secure, because if confirmation times increase, then you're going to have to wait for more blocks to be created. And as more blocks get created, it's going to make an attack on the network exponentially harder. As more blocks get created, an attacker needs to continue to race those blocks. Basically, an attacker needs to create more blocks than the whole network is creating. That's why an attacker needs more than 50% of the entire hashing power of the network, because the attacker needs to create more blocks than the entire rest of the network. So if you have a longer confirmation time, then that attacker is going to have to do that for an increased amount of time. The longer it is, the more costly the attack is. So during an event of such an attack, for example, the network's going to get congested, and Dagnite is going to wait longer and longer confirmation times until the attacker is drained of money. They can no longer sustain this attack, and they're going to be left with nothing. Not even Bitcoin has this type of security. So if you had Bitcoin's hashing power on Kaspa, the same amount of hashing power, say scaled and normalized to the dollar amount of mining equipment, for example, if you had the same amount of hardware mining on Kaspa as Bitcoin has, Kaspa is going to be magnitudes more secure on Dagnite because it's future-proof. It's as optimized as security can get. Okay, not many people understand this. Not many people will ever understand this, but that's where we're looking. That's the long-term picture. And right now, you got to invest in the future. All right, it's not pretty. The volatility is going to suck, honestly, but long-term, that's the money maker, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Heck, I hope you hold a bag for life. And of course, maximize your exposure with Nacho the cat. The community is as decentralized as you can get as well. Max decentralization as a meme coin, building real infrastructure, and it's building with Igra Labs as well. They built a lot of things on Casplex. Now they're building also on Igra Labs. And there's some massive teaser out there of how Nacho is going to be integrating with Igra Labs and helping the whole system over there, and how Nacho holders are going to be winning from it. And just be careful out there because you see a lot of things pumping out there. All right, for example, with Kango, I used to be a community member of Kango and I left, and I'm honestly glad I did because there were a lot of red flags I was seeing, and I've explained this in past videos. there is extreme amounts of centralization of how that project is run. And now it's coming to bite them. It's coming full circle. For example, with the community funds on Kango, they had a whole NFT launch and all the NFT mint fees from that. About 3 million Kaspa went to a community treasury for the project that they'll use strategically long term. But what happened recently is the founder of Kango, he took all that money and he siphoned it to many different exchanges. And like nobody noticed until finally someone noticed and started ringing the bell of what's going on. Okay. Ever since then, the founder of Kango has been gone. He vanished. He hasn't been seen. He occasionally responds to the other project admin and just like it's silence. He's gone. And again, that centralization is a major risk factor for such a project because that's where the animations come from. Okay. Nobody can create those animations that Kango famously has created. They look extremely awesome. And that's a great marketing point. Why I really did fall in love with it at the start. But when you have that centralization, when no one else can create it, and it's not like he never wanted to share that creative studio. He never wanted to pass on the reins. He never wanted to really decentralize the project. He always kept that centralized control. And now that he's gone, it's like, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen long term? Who knows? Even if a community takeover does happen, how are they going to be able to create new animations? Maybe they're going to have to pay a lot of money to create it, or they're just going to reuse old animations, and that loses a lot of value for the project. And then you have something like Nacho, where the AI images of Nacho the cat, anyone can do it. Okay, it's not like it's as easy as you think to create an AI image, but with the correct prompts, with the right AI, it's pretty easy to do. And anyone can do it. So if one marketing person leaves, another one comes in and can continue running it. And that's something that's been happening. Someone from the creative team, for example, they go on leave, they take a break, someone else comes, takes the role. And there's always a group of people working on the marketing of Nacho the cat, creating images. There's always a group of people doing so. And the knowledge is spread between contributors of how to do such things. So there's always that spread of knowledge and how to run it. So it's not like a central control or a central control of knowledge. There's so many contributors, okay? Not only are they building, but they're also decentralizing how it's run. And eventually with the Cat Foundation, they're going to be running Nacho the Cat as well with a DAO. And that's also looking long-term. That's how sustainability is kept in mind. Okay, so you got Caspa sustainability. If you want to leverage your holdings, maximize it with a derivative of Caspa, that's a leading meme coin on the block DAG. Okay, the leading meme coin of every single chain, that's how it operates. It's the derivative, it's the leverage. You got to think long term. And if whatever token is not built for long-term vision in mind, what are you doing investing in it? What are you doing buying and holding in it? Because if it's not built to last long term, then you are at major risk of a slow rug. I hate to say it, but I hate to see it even more. That's why I promote Nacho, and that's why I have been promoting it nonstop since its inception, because I see how they wanted to make it, how they were making it, and how they are making it, and how they will make it. How they continue to run the project. It checks all the marks. If I see something I don't like, I speak up and there's a solution made. The transparency is phenomenal, and that's why I truly do endorse it. I'm not like some paid marketer for Nacho the Cat. I'm just a visionary as well with Kaspa. I'm a visionary. I'm not paid to promote the project. I mean, I'm grateful to make ad revenue from YouTube and tangent referrals. I'm very grateful for anything like that. And I'm extremely grateful for all your support, people that watch me, people that support me. Honestly, the comments I get for my videos are literally the only reason why I'm continuing to make videos. Like, honestly, if I didn't get such great support from the community, and if I didn't really get that feedback, like, hey, what you're doing is actually creating a positive difference in the community and onboarding people, I don't know if I would continue doing what I'm doing for Caspa, because it takes so much time and effort, and by extension, it costs money. Like, I mean, making this stuff, I put these hours into anything else. I mean, they'd be making more money than what I'm doing here by a very large magnitude. But I'm here investing in Caspa in every sense of the meaning, investing here with this YouTube. I mean, I'm looking long-term, maybe in 5-10 years, like there's going to be a massive exposure to crypto, massive exposure to Caspa. And hey, maybe long-term, this can be my full-time, and I could even retire and still be doing this type of stuff. It can be a dream come true. I love sharing about it. I love talking about it. And honestly, if I'm not talking to you guys, I'm just talking to my friends, my family. And hey, better talk and share this stuff to a broader audience, because, hey, Kaspa is worth it. Honestly, too many people just don't get it. And too many people don't have the long-term vision in mind. Heck yeah, I mean, if we knew better and we sold up here, yeah, we'd be feeling a lot better buying this dip down here, or heck, even having any capital to buy the dip. We have to realize how early we are, and when we're looking 10 years in the future, this is going to be looking like a little puddle. It's going to be looking like a flat line compared to where we're headed long term. And run a Kaspa node if you aren't already. I got my Kaspa node running right here. Kaspa NG, it's phenomenal. It works great. It looks awesome running in the background. You could have it here. You could have it in the overview page, whatever you want. But it's great, okay? So it takes about 40 to 60 gigabytes of space, of hard drive space. You have to use an SSD. The SSD needs to be either internal in the computer, or it needs to be connected via USB-C. USB-C connection is extremely important because if you run it connected to a normal USB 2, USB 3 connection, that's like the typical USB connection you have. The USB-C connection is what the newest iPhones use. Okay, that's what you need in order to have the data transfer speeds that are required to get the node really synced up quickly. Okay, if you don't have that, then you're going to have issues syncing up your node. Let me know if you have any questions with running your node, if you have any issues, because I do this a lot. I've helped a lot of people, and we have to really keep decentralizing the block DAG, decentralizing the Kaspa network, because it is literally on us. Every single one of us needs to run a node, and it is our ability to get to the amount of nodes that Bitcoin even has. If we could run 1,000 nodes, over 1,000 nodes, that's a statement. Imagine 2,000 nodes. That's a major, major milestone for the decentralization. Because if big money looks at that, they're going to realize, hey, man, that is a strong network. You can't take out 2,000 nodes. Heck, even Kaspa Key, they're going to be putting up a node up in space. You can't take that out as easily as, as something that doesn't have a node up in space orbiting around the Earth. So stay bullish, my friends.